Okay, we're going to start with how to submit your work report online. Some of the new apprentices, and maybe even some of the apprentices that are in the program, have struggled with submitting their work reports online. And it's going to kind of walk you through some of the steps. Now, right now, I'm in the screen that we see. This is our trade school database. This is what we look at your records. This is where we track your attendance, your grades, your work, your working hours, your rate of pay. Everything is tracked through our vision of this database. Now, what I'm going to do is we have our test apprentice, Uncle Albert, here. We are going to go ahead and go into his account. Now, this is the view that you would see when you log into your trade school account. So this is the home screen for Uncle Albert. You can see the name is up here, and it opens up the main screen is your account. And as you can see, we have our the address and the contact information and whatnot. You really need to make sure that these fields are manageable on the apprentice's end, meaning you can control the current address you're at. So you can see this is obviously a made-up address. The contact information here, while you cannot update your email through this portal, you can give us your current cell phone number or your home phone or whatever you go by. And then when you get your IBW membership, you can actually you can put in your card number into here and you'd save the changes. As you can see, we have a bill that's due. I'll go over that at another time. This one is going to be specific to hours. So on the strip up here of tabs, we're going to go and most of everything you do is through the apprentice tab. So we're going to go to our apprentice tab, and you can see the sub tabs. We have the overview where you could see what your total hours on record are. When's the last time a contractor has submitted a work report on you? This date here is February 2021. This is the last date that our contractor has submitted hours on Uncle Albert. This is our trade school test contractor. Uncle Albert has worked there a total of 1,346 hours, and the last time that a work report was submitted was in February 2021. Uncle Albert's at 2-1, second pay period at 60%, making $18 an hour. He was indentured 2-1 of 20 and has a grade point average, not doing too good in school, obviously. The employment tab, this will give you your complete your history as far as what contractors you've been at and when you were unemployed, periods of unemployment. So as you can see, he started with trade school test contractor March 1st of 20. He was laid off June 15th of 20, worked 106 days. He started unemployment on 6/15. He was unemployed for 272 days. A lot of COVID happening and whatnot. And then he went back to work at trade school test contractor on 11/15 of 20. Has been there ever since for 119 days. When we get to evaluations, when we start doing evaluations with your employers, that's where this field will be populated. But right now we're not using it. So right now, today, we're going to be looking at hours. So when you look at the hours, this is the screen that you'll see. Okay, and when you record your hours, there's a couple of key points. So first of all, the hours that you work on, it's called your pending month. And Uncle Albert hasn't turned in hours his entire time. So the month worked, his first month worked is in March of 2020. He can fill in his supervisor's name. Let's say his supervisor is Frank, and the last name is Sisney. We don't have licensing in Arizona. This program is used across the country. Some jurisdictions would have a supervisor's license number. We do not, so you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to start with days 1 through 16. And March of 2020 started on Sunday, March 1st. And Uncle Albert did not work that day, but he did work on the second day of March of 2020. So what we're going to do is start filling out the types of work that he did each day that he was at work. So when he started, just like every good apprentice, we put him on underground, and he worked 8-hour days on underground, both Monday, Tuesday, 8, and he worked Wednesday 8 hours on underground. He did really good work in the underground, and the contractor decided to bring him inside and doing some thin wall conduit on the inside of the building, and he did that on Thursday. He did it for 6 hours, but he also had to lay out the project, so he did that for an additional 2 hours that day. So on Thursday, March 5th, we have a total of 8 hours, but 2 hours were spent on project layout and 6 hours on thin wall conduit. And then Friday, he did a bad job on the thin wall, so he went back out and got back on the shovel for 8 hours again on underground installations. No work on the weekend. Monday morning rolled around. They're going to continue working him all week until Thursday. Halfway through the day, Uncle Albert needed to leave. He got heated at work. He had to go home sick, so you only work 4 hours that day. But when he came back on Friday, let's say that he was put on a run of rigid. So he started rigid conduit on Friday for 8 hours, and then he also worked Saturday on that same rigid for another 8 hours. So he was off Sunday, and then they continued working on rigid conduit for 8 hours. So as you can see, the first 16 days of the month, the various amounts of hours worked on each of the descriptions of work were recorded, and now we're going to move to the second half of the month, days 17 through 31. Again, you would be doing this as you go, as you work. So as you can see from days 1 through 16, the totals carried over. On day 17, they continued on the rigid conduit. They have a lot of rigid, so they're going to continue working 8-hour days on rigid conduit. And then on Friday, they were wrapping up outside. They needed him to do some backfill, and they stuck Uncle Albert for 8 hours on Friday. Now the weekend, let's say Friday hit, or Uncle Albert needs a break on backfilling his hours. What he does is he goes up to the save button. Now the save button, it's designed to, as you fill out your hours, each day you would save the hours. So you save them, and after you hit save, you notice it changes. It updates. It says it's been successfully saved, and then it gives you the option to submit the hours. Now we're not done with this month, so we're not going to submit the hours yet. So let's go, and let's say it's the next day, and we're going to continue backfilling our hours because, again, Uncle Albert didn't do any hours, didn't do any of his hours this whole time. So now he comes in, he wants to continue filling in his hours from back in March, and he's going to pick it up again on Monday the 23rd. As you notice, it went back to save because we're not submitting, we're adding more hours to this. And he's going to finish out the month on underground. I know we said we were backfilling, but they dug a new trench. So now he's getting in there, and he is filling out all the hours, and he finished out the month. He was off the weekend, and the 31st of March is the last day of March. He worked 8 hours on underground. So these are his totals for the month. He has 116 hours of underground, 2 hours of project and planning, 6 hours of thin wall. He didn't do too well there, and the contractor put him back outside. And he also did 48 hours of rigid conduit. So we're on the last day of the month. This is March 2020. Okay, we did days 1 through 16, and we did days 17 through 31. So now we have a complete work report. And we're going to go ahead and first hit save. We're going to save our work, and the save button is meant to save it as you go. And then once we know this report is done, we go ahead and hit submit. And then it asks you, are you sure you want to submit your monthly hours? And you make sure you've entered hours for both tabs. You hit OK, and now March of 20 is filled out and submitted successfully. You get a little signifying sign signifying they were filled out. Now on our end, when we go into Uncle Albert's records here, now we'll see in Uncle Albert's account, where this is our view in the administrative office, we go to his hours. You can see on March 14th, which is today, I filled out March 2020's hours to 180 hours. Okay, and that is, the contractor reported 140. Uncle Albert, to best his recollection, says that he worked 180 hours on these various subjects. Okay, and as you can see, there's no other hours received here for the apprentice column for us except for March of 20. So Uncle Albert wants to get his raise, so he's going to continue to go into his account online and going to continue going to the hours. Now, the pending work reports is the ones that are not filled in yet. Okay, and if we go to March of 2020, okay, right now it'll come up with nothing on here because it's looking for because it's looking as a pending work report. But if you go into 2020, you could see that we submitted the hours for the contract of that month. It records a double record when you're late on your work reports. So this is what the contractor reported, and this is what Uncle Albert recorded. Okay, so this gets kind of you'll see as we've populated what it'll look like. But when you submit your work reports late, this chart looks a little different because of the double entries for the month. Typically, it looks for the apprentice to record his hours within the first 10 days of the month, and then when the administrative office turns over the contractor hours, those hours are reported several days later. So it looks for the apprentice hours first, then it looks for the contractor hours to be submitted. So when it's backwards, like when the apprentice turns it in late, that's where you see these double entries. So you'll know along the way how many months that you've turned in work reports late. All right, so we're going to go back into pending, and we're going to go continue to fill out our work reports. And this time we're going to go to April of 2020. We're still, again, these don't have to be filled out, but we'd like to know who you're working with. So go ahead and fill out your supervisor. This apprentice is still working with Frank Sisney, and he has no hours recorded for the month. So we're going to go ahead and start filling them out. We're going to do continue with the underground installations. We'll do 8 hours for the rest of this week. Continue to put 8 hours in for Friday, and then they worked even overtime on Saturday the 4th for 8 hours. Off on Sunday, and then the week after, let's say they were starting to work on some instrumentation devices. They started. They were starting a new installation on the job site on Monday. They started working on instrumentation, so let's put in 8 hours here. And let's say they would just work the whole week on instrumentation. Maybe they continue the week after. So you're going to continue to fill in 8-hour days for all of the time that you did any of these subjects at the job site. Now we have days 1 through 16 filled out. We're going to go to days 17 through 30. And again, they're going to continue, let's even say, to keep it simple, they worked the rest of the month on instrumentation devices. So they were installing instrumentation Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the 30th. So they worked 144 hours on instrumentation and 32 hours on underground installations during days 1 through 16. All right, so days 1 through 16, days 17 through 30 are complete for this month. We'll save it. And once it updates, now that we have the month completed for April of 20, we will submit it. and it's going to ask if you're sure, because you can't go back and submit the hours again if you after you submit them once. So you go ahead and hit OK, and now your work report has been successfully submitted. Okay, and again, we'll go back to the account. As you can see, the we are sorry about that. So we are populating the dates along the way. We're going to continue all the way through the end of the year, and February's hours here, of course, were recorded already. It's in March right now, so we're waiting to get February's hours reported to us. Actually, they've been reported to us just recently. So February's hours are in already. Uncle Albert worked 210 hours in February. As you can see, he still hasn't turned in his work report for February. So all of these would have to be done in the same manner. Let me go back to this. This is the account as you would see as an apprentice. And again, with hours, we did March and April of 20. As you can see in the double entry for April again, contractors submitted, and then the apprentice submitted as well. So again, April, so we're going to go to May, and we'll go to pending, May 2020, Frank Sisney, no license, and again, this is all the fields that you'd be continuing to populate with hours as the experience occurred. So worked some overtime. Let's just say he did the whole month. He did branch conduit, and he did overtime as well, all the days but Sunday. All right, so days 1 through 16 are populated. Days 17 through 31. We even worked a Sunday on thin wall. Wednesday worked 10 hours, and they went to 10s on Wednesday, so now we're working 10s. And we're working Saturdays as well. We'll work at 6 10s. We have off on Sundays now, but we're into 10-hour days. So 10s all the way across. Friday, they decided to lay out some other area of the job. That was 10 hours too, and they continued layout. So there you go. And that is all of the hours now worked in May of 2020. So as you can see, we had 236 hours for the month. So we're going to save that and then hit submit. And that is pretty much everything about your hours, how to submit them. So your summary here would be bringing out, all of the different types. This is your summary page about your experiences. If you're having issues where you're getting overweighted in one part of the trade, you would bring it to our attention. We would look at something like this page and make the determination if you need to be moved around, whether in your own contractor or maybe from one contractor to another. It would be based upon this information that we'd gather from this page. And that is your work reports. So as you go along, it's easiest to make sure that we are working in March right now. This would be a pending report. And let's say you're getting caught up to March 14th. So let's get ourselves, let's put ourselves in for some motor controls. Let's see, we moved over to motor controls this month. We're fast forwarding to today's employment. So we're working 8-hour days. Let's fill in motor controls for 8-hour days across the board. We're working Saturdays too because we've got some overtime. And we are moving across the 11th, the 12th, it's the 14th today, so the 13th, and we have off today, it's Sunday. So yesterday we worked 8 hours, and so our next work day is Monday. We don't know what we're doing yet, so we'll go ahead and save this. We're not going to submit now. So now it's current. So we have a current work report record. So as you go forward now, as Monday happens, you'll log back into your account daily on your phone and just fill in whatever hours that you worked on Monday. And you, again, the save button will be there, not submit. And then you'll save it each day. You'll save it for 31 days in a month, or 30 days. 31 days this month. You'll save it 31 times, and then on the 31st, when you make your final entry for the month, that's the day you'll hit submit. Your work reports will be in on time, and no delays on your raise, and everybody's happy. So just make sure that you're filling these out as accurately as possible, but on a daily basis. That way you're not going through and putting in backlog hours and struggling to get your raises on time. All right, and that's it on submitting your work reports.